So you inspired me with our last episode, William.
Thank you.
Because it was your posture.
Oh, thank you. Oh, sit up straight. These stools are not very good for sitting up straight on.
No, and your eye contact.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to everyone.
But also, you were talking about, what is it, the swollen perineum as inspired by bicycling.
Yeah, okay.
And we had a quick chat about, or at least a head nod to the extreme levels of doping in cycling and how it had a history of that. And I thought, I'm going to go down that rabbit hole for a little while.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, juice me, baby. Juice me.
So where do we begin? I'm just going to organise myself here. I'm not used to being in the room with bits of paper. So in the 1950s, the British cyclist Jock Andrews.
Oh, yep.
He joked, you need never go off course when you're chasing the peloton, the pack of riders in a big race. Just follow the trail of empty syringes and dope wrappers.
Okay, yeah. They're not doing the syringing on the peloton.
Do you know that?
It's got to be tricky. It's got to be tricky.
Pretty talented. Your arms aren't doing much. You've ridden without hands, right?
I've ridden without hands. I've ridden without feet, but I have not shot up while riding a bike.
Well, you need to try harder. So that was the 1950s. The American specialist in doping, Max Novich, he wrote trainers of the old school who supplied treatments which had cocaine as their base, declared with assurance that a rider tired by a 6-day race would get his second breath after absorbing these mixtures. And the 6-day races started in about 1877. They were basically the most number of laps you can do in 6 days.
In 6 days.
And we're not talking OH&S here.
Who picks 6 days? I get, riding for 24 hours straight is a lot, but who says, no, push it out, push it out. What are you saying, 2 days? No, push it out a bit further. Push it out. I don't get why you get to 3. I mean, why do you get to 6?
I don't know. Maybe you need Sunday off or something.
Okay, maybe
biblically inspired length of race.
Because you'd be really good to come to church after riding for 6 days straight. I'm not getting a lot of biblical lessons at the best of times, but you've just been riding your bike for 6 days on a lot of cocaine.
I want you to go for a walk. I can't walk. I'm just not able to walk. Better yet, anything else. Forget the exhaustion. Your legs would only work in one particular fashion. So the exhaustion of the 6-day races on the track was countered in many ways by riders by they call them, I think it's soigneurs. It's the French word for carer. So when they weren't using cocaine, they had treatments with things like nitroglycerin, which is used to stimulate the heart after you've had basically a cardiac event. The implication was that they were having cardiac events, but I don't think they meant that. The bottom line was, you don't use it on a healthy heart.
No.
You seem fine. Let's really beef your heart up. And it was accredited with improving riders' breathing. Riders would often suffer hallucinations from exhaustion and mixes of drugs. So there's an American champion called Major Taylor, a black dude who was very well covered in the Dollop podcast. He refused to continue in a New York race, saying, I cannot go on with safety, for there is a man chasing me around the ring with a knife in his hand. There was no man and no knife. A professor at the Uni of Texas.
It'd make a great Olympic sport, though. Like if you were to add into the
Run
Olympics,
from the knife guy.
Yeah, there's a knife guy as well.
At least you get a bike and they don't.
Yeah.
Although maybe also if you can't shoot up on a bike, maybe it's hard to stab when you're on a bike.
But I assume they get a gold medal as well. Like it's two different Olympic events at the same time.
That's a good idea.
One is escaping, one is chasing.
Just like for shooting, if we had human targets, the target that survived the longest could also get a gold medal. Sure. And the person who shoots them.
Silver? What is silver?
Dead faster. Professor at the Uni of Texas said 6-day races were, this is speaking of the past, they were de facto experiments investigating the physiology of stress as well as the substances that might alleviate exhaustion.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's pretty hard on people. Max again, our
but no one else needs that level of exhaustion testing. It's not a scenario where otherwise you'll be at your office job working for 6 days straight, and you need to know. Okay,
unless you're us.
At your day, yeah, of course. But at day 5 of podcasting, how do you push on to day 6? It's not that common.
Yeah, you put off day 6. You sleep for 3 days. Yeah, it's not that common. I don't see why you'd want it, but apparently they did. So, de facto experiments. Max, again, our journalist who was talking about the trainers of the old school and the 6-day races, he was writing about the Tour de France in 1973 in the New York State Journal of Medicine, and he described the Tour de France as a cycling nightmare, which is pretty succinct.
Oh, I think it's much nicer than that.
1973, it was probably horrendous.
I'm sure it's horrendous with drugs, but I'm sure it's still nice.
Would you want to do it?
If I was
I don't mean gently ride the course in your own time.
No, look, okay, it would be utterly grueling. I totally get that, but if
I can't imagine.
I'd be wonderful. I think if you were to choose one sport in the world to be at the top of,
it wouldn't be cycling.
Oh, it'd be great fun.
There'd be a list, then there'd be a country, and then cycling would be on the other side of that country.
Oh, no.
Look, I used to go to high school, representative athletics carnivals.
Yeah.
Because I could shot put.
I don't doubt it. Like, I get it. And there's not a lot of people.
So
I know like Michael Jordan pivoted from basketball to baseball not very well, but he's a great athlete.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a lot of pivots from shot put to cycling.
But there's also no fucking training. At high school level when I was there, there's literally, okay, you guys are going to run 8,000 laps. You're going to jump up and down and nearly hurt yourself. You guys go and chuck that around for a bit.
Just try it.
Then you get to the actual day, so you get a day off school.
I'm sure all of our shot put listeners right now are saying there is so much technique that you need to learn.
Yeah, they're not in high school. Or maybe they are.
Okay, high
schoolers. Work harder. If I've learned anything from most things. But of course, drug taking and cycling predates the Tour of France. And as a French reporter, and the French love their cycling, it has existed and it has always existed. And strychnine was very popular, particularly in cycling. So, because small doses tighten up your tired muscles. Larger doses put your muscles into spasm and you die.
I didn't know that the problem of tired muscles was looseness, but
for some reason, maybe if they're tighter, I don't know. And one track rider in the sort of late 1800s, early 1900s era said he had developed such a tolerance to strychnine that he had to take large enough doses to kill smaller men to have an effect.
Oh yeah, I'm tolerant. Oh, I could handle a whole lot.
Give me more, doc.
I know that people get piss fit. But strychnine is not a great thing. Not great.
I'm sure he was very successful.
It's a minor role in an Agatha Christie or something like that.
Isn't it?
They both drank out of the strychnine glass.
It'd be like, but what you did not factor in is he was a cyclist. We suspect the rat poison was not rat poison.
Definitely a Hercule Poirot story.
100%. Is that Agatha Christie?
Yeah, that's Agatha Christie.
Or is that the other one?
No, Agatha Christie. Miss Marple and Hercule Poirot.
Who's the other one? Is there any other one? There's only Agatha Christie, right?
Oh, there's other.
Le Carre. Oh, no, different. And of course, so the use of strychnine for a long time was far from being banned. It was thought necessary to survive demanding races.
There is another solution. There is another solution with banning or necessary to survive. There is also, you don't have to do races that are that demanding.
Doc, can we do something in the middle? No.
How about you just race really fast for
briefly
10 minutes, an hour, something like that.
4 days.
Yeah, trim back.
When 4 days seems like a good deal. So yeah, according to sports historians, it was quite actually common. And yeah, you want to get into cycling? Well, first you're going to have to develop a tolerance to rat poison.
Right on the perineum and then strychnine.
Yep, bang it on the bung. But of course, not only cycling, strychnine and other drugs were quite popular in other ways. So there was a classic case of an American called Thomas Hicks. He was a track and field athlete, and he won what's called a remarkable marathon race in the 1904 Summer Olympics. His assistants gave him doses of, they call it a 60th of a grain, which is about 1 milligram of strychnine, mixed into brandy and egg whites. Because you've got to make it delicious.
It's such a
It's a deconstructed pavlova.
No, it's such an early 19th century cocktail.
Isn't it?
Like that's what they did.
Obviously brandy.
And maybe a bit of jelly.
Yeah, but obviously brandy, because brandy's in everything. You need a restorative, sir. This is during the race.
Who's drinking egg whites? Egg whites, brandy, and strychnine in the middle of your race.
During the race. So the first dose of strychnine did not revive him for long enough. It wasn't enough. So they gave him
it would be
another
dangerous
one.
if I tried this, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I do like the idea of running a marathon and stopping every so often for an egg white brandy, maybe with a little bit of strychnine.
A little strychnine, maybe less than a 60th.
I don't actually know what strychnine is. Does it matter? Do I need to know? I know it's got a bad name.
It's poison that makes you spasm to death.
Okay.
Often used to kill rats.
But if you have just the right amount of...
Oh, it makes you a legendary athlete. It's unambiguous. So they gave him a second dose because the first one didn't last long enough. So he collapsed at the moment he crossed the finishing line, and they reckon a third dose would have killed him. So now, of course, strychnine is forbidden for athletes, at least in the Olympics and probably everywhere. And as far as they're aware, it hasn't been used in an Olympic event since then until 2016. I know.
Who was the brave soul?
Well, the headline of this piece that spoke about it, 2016 Rio Olympics, weightlifters stripped of medal for doping with rat poison.
Oh, there you go.
Which doesn't sound great. He was a guy called Itzat Artikov from Kyrgyzstan.
Kyrgyzstan.
So, yeah, he was stripped of his silver medal, I believe. Bronze for finding strychnine in his system.
Was he thinking, okay, people have forgotten to look for strychnine by now?
Yes.
Like they're onto all of the new performance.
He's a hipster.
He's a hipster. I'll grow my beard. I'll only ride a fixie, and I'll look like a 1900s guy. So strychnine is my drug of choice.
Steak and eggs and steak. That's what makes a good breakfast. He's always going hip hip hurrah. That's how he ran, but with a Kyrgyzstanian accent. I don't know how good yours is. Mine's not great.
It's Russian. That's my Kyrgyzstan accent.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. But today we're going to wind the clock back a little further. We're going to go back to 1889. And a Pittsburgh baseball pitcher called Jim Pud Galvin and the scientist who helped him become the first player in the history of baseball to experiment and essentially get busted for a performance-enhancing drug, a fellow called Charles-Édouard Brown-Séquard.
Welcome to the Wholesome Show. Science stories.
For the cyclist at the back of the velodrome.
Yes, indeed. Where we ask the dumb questions. So
no cyclists have to.
The Wholesome Show is me, Will Grant.
And me, Dr. Roderick Griffin. I'll take maybe an 80th of a grain of strychnine. If a 60th is...
Just a light spasm. Just a light spasm.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Does it give you any other benefits? Sit on the couch and have some strychnine?
Permanent erection. What do they call it? Priapism.
Yeah. Someone had that, didn't they?
The Wholesome Show. No one I know.
Now that you mentioned priapism, the Wholesome Show is brought to you by a very legitimate place that is not interested in priapism any more than it should be. The right amount of interest. It's not interested, but not overly interested.
Yeah.
The right amount of interest. The Australian National Centre for the Public Awareness of Science.
And strychnine.
For all of your science communication needs.
From cycling to weightlifting. That's how it rolls.
Give me the good juice.
So let's go back to Pud, Jim the Pud Galvin.
How do you get the nickname Pud?
Interesting you should ask.
Oh, good.
He was nicknamed Pud. Like, I thought it was Pud until I read why he got the nickname.
Well, okay.
Because his pitching turned opposing batters into pudding.
Oh. Okay.
I don't know if that means they bog their pants or he smashes them into atoms.
Surely they get the nickname, not him.
You're the
if you turn people into pudding, you need a better nickname than Pud.
He should be the Pudster.
Or something. You're the blender. You're the mix master.
The mix master.
You're the kitchen implement. Whatever it is.
The baker.
The baker.
Doesn't sound very tough though.
But it sounds very tough to turn the opposing team into pudding. That sounds tough. You deserve a better nickname than pudding.
I see what it means because they pudding their pants. Because he must have been terrifying. So he used at one point late in his career a mixture known as the Brown-Séquard elixir.
Brown-Séquard? Why do I know that?
Well, maybe you know this story. You never know.
I don't know, but it in my mind has no association with baseball or elixirs. It's okay. This is going to make
a type of car.
I don't know.
The Nissan Brown-Séquard. It's a 3-wheeler with 8 doors.
Only made in the 70s.
Yeah, and in one country. We're not going to say which one. He used the Brown-Séquard elixir to improve his pitching prowess in a game against Boston, in which, as he's described as a veteran, he turned back the clock on his own performance and pitched a 9-0 shutout.
That sounds good.
You know what a shutout is?
Stop them from making anything.
Yeah.
Shut them out. Shut them out of the game.
It's only a shutout if a single pitcher completes a whole game and doesn't let the opposing team score anything.
That sounds good. No, that's very good. That's a very good thing.
Yeah, and he did it, as I say, when he was a veteran. So he was, probably at least 23 at that time.
Oh no, I don't know. I think baseball pitchers, depending if they get some sort of all of your limbs dissolve, maybe you stop. But I think baseball supports people getting a bit older than some other sports.
And fatter too, especially in the olden days. Like
totally.
Babe Ruth was built like John Goodman, wasn't he?
But if your job is just to step out there and swing a stick really, really hard.
Yeah, and hit the ball so far that you can actually just walk.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to be built like a cyclist.
Maybe they should try strychnine. Strychnine does not come back. So he did the shutout. He did the 9-0 shutout. And after that game and after that awesome throwing the ball, Washington Post back in the day wrote, if there still be doubting Thomases who concede no virtue to the elixir, they are respectively...
Get on board!
Yeah, come on, fuckers. They are respectfully referred to Galvin's record in yesterday's Boston-Pittsburgh game.
Okay.
It's the best proof yet furnished of the values of the discovery.
Okay.
Of the elixir.
Okay, I'm guessing you're going to tell me the elixir is not just water and maybe some salts like Gatorade or something like that. It maybe involves some other things.
There's water in it.
Egg white and brandy and more.
Oh, no brandy. But I reckon you could add brandy just for a little flavour and egg white for texture. So the Washington Post were fans, and the creator of the elixir himself wrote in The Lancet in 1889, it's hardly possible to explain the effects I have observed on myself otherwise than by admitting that the liquid injected possesses the power of increasing the strength of many parts of the human organism. I need hardly say that those effects cannot have been due to structural changes, and that they resulted only from nutritive modifications.
I just love. So obviously the pitcher himself, Brown-Séquard.
No, he's the scientist.
Brown-Séquard is the scientist?
Yeah, Pud is the pitcher.
Pud is the pitcher.
So the
I just love that they're like, okay, this was tremendously good. There can be no downsides.
None.
Like I struggle to think that there would possibly be downsides to this. Maybe we're just a far more cynical age and we expect downsides to come with good things. Maybe back then they were like, it's good.
We're a bunch of doubting Tomases.
There is no downside possible.
I pitched a 9-0 shutout, which we all now know deeply and in our loins exactly what that is. So Brown-Séquard, yes, he's writing in the Lancet, I need hardly say that those effects cannot have been due to structural changes. They resulted only from nutritive modifications, perhaps in a very great measure from purely dynamical influences exerted by some of the principles contained in the injected fluid.
Okay, that's a very long sentence to just say it came because I injected the fluid, the stuff in him.
Yeah, I put
it did
in
stuff.
Me. Yep, it worked on him, it worked on everyone, it's great. So who was this guy? Who was this Brown-Séquard? He was a French physician and physiologist. You've heard of him now?
No, I remember where he is. Many, many moons ago, I believe, goat testicles.
Ish.
Okay.
Not unrelated.
All right, okay.
Yeah. Yes, when I was reading, I was thinking, it sounds a bit familiar. But we'll tell it anyway. Because there was a part of me that said, have we done this? And they go, I don't care.
No, it's not all. Yeah, it's just
related.
I think yep.
So, okay, I love this description of him in one of the sources, because people who write biographies of him are very excited people. The story of Charles-Édouard Brown-Séquard is one of intrigue, eccentricity, and a touch of the insane. Sound familiar?
I mean, if you read that about a scientist, you'd say those idiots on the Wholesome show have to make a story about him.
Yeah, what choice do you have?
Because that is our default person.
Apparently it works as a cautionary tale for those seeking world-changing breakthroughs in medicine at any cost. So that's a good bit of foreshadowing there. So he was born to an American father and a French mother in the British colony of, do you know this? Do you remember this? No?
Guam?
Mauritius.
Oh, okay.
Same thing.
But Mauritius isn't it a French colony?
Not then.
Okay.
No. He apparently he's French, but not. He was born in 1817, and I'm told it was a year after the invention of the stethoscope, just in case you were thinking, hang on a minute.
That's how.
Why is that year nearly familiar?
Obviously, what everyone does is they think, what famous invention happened 1 year before me, and I will define myself against it.
Yeah, mine was the invention of the cloth hat. The year after I was born.
Mine was disco. I was born the year after disco. I don't know.
Oh, no wonder you're a little bit uncool, but not too uncool.
Yeah, I'm close. I'm close to disco
almost
adjacent.
Disco. He grew up as one biography reminds us in an era of medicine before the widespread adoption of antiseptics
or ethics.
Yeah, definitely before ethics, before anesthesia, long before antibiotics. Doctors were still working on principles of the 4 humours. Bloodletting was on its way out, but not uncommon still.
Yeah, well.
And they would think about leeches and stuff, or surgeons' cuts for things like the common cold, or even female hysteria.
Yeah.
So, these were simpler times. Simpler times. He has been heralded as an eccentric genius, a foremost neurophysiologist, and the father of modern endocrinology and hormone replacement theory.
There you go.
Sounding familiar?
Yeah.
He pioneered the concept of advancement of neuroscience through experimental physiological observation. So he played in many domains. So he looked at the conditions and functions of different constituents of the blood, spinal column stuff and disease of the spinal column. Sounding familiar?
Oh no, I know. I remember what he did now. I've got it. It was that episode. I remember he was the small.
He was the bit player.
Yeah, he was the bit player, and
now he's getting his own show.
Yeah, well, good on. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I remember, and it's one of those things where you just go, "Why did you choose that? Why did you choose that one?"
Yeah, why is that you go? Well, no, he chose a lot of things.
Yeah, okay.
He chose a lot of
but
things.
But still, of all of the animals,
he was a polygamist. I mean, polymath. So the spinal column stuff, he was into sympathetic nerves, ganglions, the effect of the removal of the suprarenal capsule. You know the one.
Oh, that's my favorite of the
removals. If you're going to remove anything, any capsules from me. But he's probably best remembered for his description in the mid-1800s of Brown-Séquard syndrome, or what became Brown-Séquard syndrome.
Yeah, of course.
So that is a modern definition, a rare neurological condition characterized by a lesion in the spinal cord, which results in weakness or paralysis on one side of the body and a loss of sensation on the opposite side.
Okay.
Which is all very kooky. That's what we seem to do.
So a lesion, really like what are we talking about?
It could be a cut, it could be a tumour, it could be a weird blood clot.
And then you lose sensation on the other side of your body. So people are like, that's weird.
So you're weak on one side and lose sensation on the other. If it helps, you're called hemiparaplegia and hemianenthesia. No. That should help you remember it.
Did you have examples of it? Like, did people get shot in their right-hand side
we'll get to that.
and they feel sick? Okay.
We'll kind of get to that. So the syndrome may be caused by a spinal cord tumour, trauma such as a puncture wound to the neck or back.
Yeah, okay. So it's all around the spinal cord.
Ischemia, so obstruction of a blood vessel, or infection or inflammatory diseases like TB or even multiple sclerosis. So many things can cause it, but it's some kind of assault on the bits of the spinal cord. So back in his day, of course, it was like, what's going on? Some suggested the condition was brought to his attention by the activities of the so-called Parisian milieu. Well, I don't know what that is, but it sounds very...
It's hanging out in Paris and going to parties.
Yeah, so...
Like, no, that's the cool... And that sounds like when Paris is as cool as it can get.
As cool.
Like, they are all doing...
That's when they invented salon.
All of the delicious wines and the delicious opiums.
And the delicious... what's it? Absinthe?
Yeah, of course. They are being so freaking sophisticated. Like, it's out at the wazoo of sophisticated.
Oh, it hurts. Just thinking about it hurts.
I don't know why it brings things to your attention, though.
Well, because they settled their scores with stilettos so thin as to be able to penetrate into the spinal canal.
No, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Let us settle our scores.
Let me just... I will surgically puncture a little thing into your spinal
it'd be cool.
canal.
Like, it'd be cool. Like, this is not going to kill you. It is just such a thin little dagger. It'll sort of go all the way through you.
Yeah. And you'll be slightly lame on one side and paralyzed, and not feel anything on the other.
Oh my God, that is awesome. Like,
this is a very specific revenge.
Civilized.
Yeah.
Civilized.
You are not totally fucked up, but you will mange merde for the rest of your life.
I can imagine though, there was a time in, obviously this era, where they're like, broadswords are so indelicate.
Oh God, it's savage. There is so much blood. Look at this tiny little puncture wound.
Just a little bit.
I have avenged you without too much mess.
I do want a super skinny sword and be French from that time. That's so cool.
You could call it needle.
Indeed. Oh.
All right. Anyway, it sounds like that's bullshit.
Why you tell me that?
I reckon it's more likely he would have observed accident injuries on spinal cords of farmers cutting sugarcane when he was in Mauritius.
Oh, that's way more fucking pedestrian.
Also horrible because I'm guessing the people cutting sugarcane in Mauritius weren't the best equipped to live in the world.
I assume at the time, what are we talking? 18?
Yeah, mid-1800s, early to mid.
I assumed that the value on human life that was given by the French colonial empire was
fairly high.
So close to zero.
Above zero, though. Let's reframe this. Let's look at the plus side.
No,
is it more than zero?
No,
yes, it is.
No, I think prisoners with jobs. I think
not slaves.
Death slaves.
Jobs.
Yeah.
They get paid in, I don't know, medical treatments? They probably did not. So anyway, this is his thing. He became most famous for that. Not for goat testicles. How dare you, sir? How dare you, sir? And I'm here to assure you that unless you bring it up, goats will not appear again.
No, it was in an episode. He turned
goats
up
will not appear again.
I said he was a bit player in another story.
You're a monster. Why do you hate him so much?
I love him.
See that? I left some space.
I love it.
I'm growing as a podcaster.
Are you really? Could we actually do a podcast with space? There you go. Holy shit. There, you are growing.
I know. It won't last because I can retract as quickly as I grow, probably quicker. In 1859, he migrated to London and he became a physician to the National Hospital for the Paralysed and Epileptic. Can you imagine that? Where do you work?
What do I got? Well, we only do two things.
So you must have one of them.
One of them.
No, actually, I got a cough. Nah, you're paralysed. How hard do you cough?
Also, two conditions. I would expect the conditions to be very closely related,
and yet very different.
If I was doing a hospital, I'd be like the hospital for legs and arms. And you go, okay, they're pretty similar. Or the hospital for left lung and right lung.
Yeah,
or
but not paralysed and epileptic.
I don't know if that
doesn't move at all. Moves too much.
I don't know if that's the thing. But
the people in the middle though, they don't get a look in. But it's true, though.
Also, it doesn't allow a lot of innovation. It's like someone comes up with a new idea. It's like, get your own friggin' hospital. This is what this hospital does.
How dare you, sir? They are nothing but innovative in this era and in this place. So he stayed at that hospital for about 5 years, and he would expound his views on the pathology of the nervous system in many, many lectures, and apparently he attracted considerable attention. So he's doing all right.
Okay.
He's doing all right. It was 1859. In 1864, he became a professor of physiology and neuropathology at Harvard.
Oh, nice.
So he moved to the Americas and became a Harvard guy. He was a member of the Royal Society, and this is my favourite. In 1886, he was elected to the board of the Sugar Club, and I cannot find out what the fuck that is.
The Sugar Club.
The Sugar Club. I'm hoping it's like a Marquis de Sade weird sex perversion dungeon.
Okay. I was just going. It was like old sugar big boys, like they were.
It may well have been
from the South of America, and they loved a bit of slavery type thing. But the Sugar Club.
You're probably right.
What year?
1886.
Okay, slaves are gone in America. It doesn't sound okay. I'm just going to guess here.
You should.
Regardless, not a lot of people who aren't white.
Probably
not a lot of people who aren't male. So regardless, it's a group of people.
But obviously they allowed the poor in. They didn't do that either.
No, I doubt that. The Sugar Club. I don't want to join a club called the Sugar Club.
No.
I'll join like Skull and Bones because that sounds like
You mean the Skulls?
Or whatever it is. I don't care. You know that.
You haven't seen that pointless '90s movie? I did. Down?
But it's like okay, that sounds like a cool little pretend pirate society. But the Sugar Club, is definitely okay. Now we fuck our mothers. Like it's just like
wow. Now that you say it, it makes sense.
No, that's what it is. Like you.
No, but I did not type that into the search engine when I was trying to find out what it was.
First meeting, bring your mother. And it's like, no.
Second meeting, bend them over. I get it.
It doesn't sound nice. It sounds really bad.
Why would you be so cutting about your mother? This is harsh. So that was 1886. He became a board member of a club that we are.
Oh, he's a board member.
Deeply speculating about its origins and purpose. 3 years later, he became professor at the École de Médecine in Paris. So back to the Frances.
It's a very international career for this time.
Oh, he moved around a lot. I'll give you the stats on that a bit later.
No, but in this sort of day and age, people didn't move countries that much.
No.
And if they did, it was probably more within an empire sort of thing.
Well, look, the brief spoiler is he crossed the Atlantic, they reckon, in his lifetime 60 times.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
And born 1817. So each of those crossings
you weren't flying.
You are not flying. So obviously sailors, like if your job is to sail, you would have crossed it a bit more. But for a non-sail, that is a lot.
Yeah.
Even planes, I think there wouldn't be a lot of people that have crossed it 60 times.
No. Well, we have, obviously, for doing like live shows.
I've crossed the Atlantic 0 times. I go the other way around.
I don't choose. I tend to let the pilot decide.
No. I am a Pacific only. I just
You're like, no, I won't do that.
No, that's my ocean.
I
picked an allegiance to the oceans.
What's this
many years ago?
chunder pile?
I am Pacific first.
Specifically about the Pacific.
Yeah, exactly. That's my ocean. That's the one I cross.
I got no beef with that. I respect.
Or the Indian. I don't mind the Indian.
See, you're already selling out.
That's my second ocean. I got 2.
Why don't you have 3?
Well,
I'm only
Southern.
For me, it's Sargasso Sea.
That's Sargasso Sea.
I won't go anywhere that doesn't involve the Sargasso. So yeah, he became that. But when he was a young medical student and a physician in Paris, so his first kind of hangout in Paris, he dedicated himself to his work, and as it was put in a number of biographies, at times to the detriment of his own health and finances. So this is a quote I like. Is that a car outside? It sounded like an aeroplane. How did they know we were here? He churned through mountains of frogs meticulously dissecting their spinal cords.
He's French. He's French.
I was waiting for you. When I've done the spinal cords, I eat the thigh, not the leg, the thigh only. Apparently, he was also churning through his inheritance at the time, so he was burning up the cash, which didn't help. He was able to overturn conventional wisdom that all neurological connections were held in the brain. So he started to be a guy who talked about how neurological connections extend beyond the head.
That is science that is still evolving.
No, science has been solved.
No,
this is why we only do history now. Scientific history and nothing else.
No, but that's look. I think it's interesting that some of this stuff goes back a long way.
It really does, question. And probably earlier than this. He would repeat his experiments not just on frogs but sheep and horses, and he immortalized himself in the scientific community.
Big jump, though.
Yeah, from a frog to a sheep.
Oh, I'd go straight to the horse, but it uses different lab equipment too.
Or a bigger knife.
Yeah, bigger table.
Wow, where are you going to get one of those? In Paris. I need a bigger table. We do not know what you are talking about.
My tiny frog table is not big enough for the horse.
Could I buy two? Could I buy two and join them somehow? Or do you have, by any chance, a frog-sized horse?
I do want a little tiny... See, this is what I like. You have like a diorama, and you've set up your autopsy studio to do like... You have a tiny table to do your autopsy on the frog.
Oh, I like that. You're a sick fuck. That's good. That's good.
How wouldn't you like that? That'd be great fun.
I said I would like it.
You blend your two passions. One is finding out about the insides of the frog, but the other one is tiny
landscapes.
Exactly.
I do bloody love tiny things.
See,
like
there you go.
I'm a nightmare in Japan. I walk around, they go, oh my God, they got tiny little razors in the pack that look like small
what
fruits.
I'm doing? I'm getting the frog and I'm putting him in a little top hat. He needs a top hat and some bow ties.
Bonjour, Monsieur Froget.
Excuse me, Monsieur Frog. I must undress you first. Oh.
You're very polite.
Now we do the real science.
And this was the point when the episode pivoted.
It's a dream of mine.
Oh no, I want to keep hearing about it. I got no material left. This is the end. And then he died. So yeah, he churned through money. He churned through stuff. He overturned conventional wisdoms about neurology.
Yep.
He fucked with sheep and horses. Fucked with.
Yeah, okay.
With is an important adjective there.
Did science on.
I mean, what do you call it? Preposition.
Did science on.
He scienced on. But he was known as being temperamental and erratic with his career, and he was also known to experiment impulsively with his own body. See, finally it gets interesting. So boring before. I was bored too. I was falling asleep myself.
Come on. Impulsively with his own body.
So he apparently suffered from something called persistent mericism or rumination syndrome.
He thought a lot.
Yeah, it would be good if it was that, but it wasn't. It was otherwise translated as effortless regurgitation requiring food to be chewed twice.
Okay.
He would regurgitate too easily.
And then he chewed it and put it back in.
Probably like a baby bird. Up it would come and then... he postulated this was a result, this is his opinion of why he has it. It was a result of his desire to investigate the contents of his own stomach under various circumstances.
You'll have to excuse me. I'm doing this for science.
The roast beef is lovely, but they just want to... Because he wanted to examine gastric juices or partially digested food.
Effortless regurgitation, that's one thing. Requires second chewing, that's another where you're chewing your own vomit. Are you saying he did that?
His own vomit? No.
Didn't you say that? He needs to say
his own
the second
food.
chewing.
His own food. No, that's not vomit. You're disgusting.
Once it's out, it's vomit. Food and poo, they are...
Both vomit.
Like they change. The instant it passes your mouth, it is not food anymore.
Same with hair.
No, yeah, exactly. The instant hair is off your head, it is a different thing. The instant that there is a magical transformation moment, food goes in and is not food anymore. It is vomit or poo. That's the only options.
It's true. It's true. And I don't think he knew that.
Well, all right. I know that.
He may not have been as connected as my colleague is. Apparently his condition started in 1844 after he experimented on himself doing things like swallowing sponges with threads attached to them so that he could study his gastric juices and liquefied foods. I know. Hang on.
I do. The thing that it brings to mind is the 80s video game magic coin. You know, there's
I don't know that one.
Oh, you don't? No. The cool kid would have the 20-cent coin with a hole drilled in it and a little thread on it. And then you could go to the video game and you
I knew that. Yeah, I knew that.
And you get 20 credits like that.
Yeah, you did. Space Invaders all day.
I just love the idea of being able to swallow a sponge.
Do you know what I find worse?
What?
So the thread's going to be small. Pulling it up, feeling that
that's
thread on the inside.
That's the relief. That's relief because I'm feeling it coming. That's the nice bit. That's the good bit. Getting it down is the hard bit. Like,
okay, well we could go halves in this thing. I'll get it down, you get it up. And one commentator of the day said,
"Why didn't he just do a sponge, like swallow a string, then sponge, then
pull
string,
through
and
the
you
butthole?
can just
Clean yourself out." Well, we know today in these modern times that's a good idea.
Sure.
But in the past, God, they were stupid.
Do you know? Listen, if you want a business on Instagram, maybe the deep sponge clean. So sell a sponge.
Oh no, Etsy's got it covered.
Sell a sponge, yeah, and it's got a string that's I don't know how long. It's got to be pretty long for the small intestine.
To get through the colon, 900 miles.
Don't do this, listener. Don't do this.
Do it. We've never taken responsibility for you, and we're not going to start now. You are your own person. So yes, a person at the time said about this particular effort, this sacrifice on the altar of science should be honourably recorded as a disinterested effort by a truly philosophical man.
Indeed, he is truly a philosopher,
much like us.
You sponge swallower, you
and regurgitator. A bit later, 1853, cholera outbreak in Mauritius, and he'd heard from there's a person called Magendie, who suspected that opium could be really effective in helping with cholera. So Brown-Séquard thought, well, let's find out. So he swallowed the vomit of one of his patients to catch the... I know. I read that and thought, we don't need anything else. We have an episode.
I'm sorry. How are you going
to get cholera? Can I drink your puke?
And it's amazing. It's like putting your body on the line. I know that like Douglas Mawson, he wore out all the skin between his thighs getting across Antarctica.
He didn't drink vomit.
But this guy needs to be in the annals of great French.
Of anything.
He's famous for swallowing the vomit.
Nobel Prize for just good God.
Oh my!
I mean, Barry Marshall drank a little bit of E. coli. What the fuck ever?
No.
This guy drank a cholera patient's puke.
But what? Just as an experimental scientist, what is?
In order to find out if Magendie's
tasty
idea about it's obviously he's a gastronomique because he's French, but also to find out if the opium thing worked. So after he swallowed the puke, he scoffed large doses of laudanum, tincture of opium, to see what would happen. I don't know.
I hope that his theory. I hope he'd done a lit review and that there was some underpinnings to this theory. Like,
look, I found a book.
Because the moment where I'm swallowing a cholera patient's vomit, I want to be like 90, 95, 98, 90. I want to be quite happy with my idea.
I need to be 4,000% sure.
I'm not thinking. Okay, there's a chance in a million here. Who cares? Let's try. I'm looking for a little bit of vomit.
On the other side, he's got an excuse to get freaking high on a whole bunch of opium. So maybe that's the thing. Like, I don't want to make it seem like I'm a junkie. So what if I drink cholera puke?
I do hope he's got some research assistants who are not allowed to do any of this, but are watching their supervisor while he's getting all of the opium and the cholera vomit into him.
I just can't.
Fuck me, there is an afternoon. Like there, right there. That is an afternoon. They come home from that.
Why are you quitting the lab?
Quit the lab? No fucking way. There's stories like that. Who quits that?
You know how boring your guy is? My guy drank sick guy puke and then got really loaded on opium because he claimed, in huge air quotes, it would help the cholera. In Virginia, a similar time, he attempted to study the function and necessity or lack of necessity of human skin, so he covered himself with varnish.
Lack of necessity.
Yeah. So
okay, so I'm going to unpack this slowly.
How much do we need?
Skip the varnish for a second.
Okay.
Who says, okay, skin?
What do I need this shit for?
Skin, do we need it or not? Because there is no moment where I'm just...
It gets in the way.
I hate common sense. Common sense is a bit silly, but who says, obviously, skin is not necessary? Who looks at their own body
In his
and
defense,
says,
he was a scientist. He said, I hypothesize, or I'm asking... how necessary is it?
Okay. No, you said, is it necessary? That's different.
To study the function and necessity or lack thereof.
All right. So it's not like
so misrepresented.
It's not like hair where it's like we see people around who have more or less hair.
Really?
Everyone has skin. And the people who don't have skin,
as I'm aware, are dead.
Are not doing well.
They're dead.
Or they're on that pathway.
No, they're dead.
But depends
if you have no skin, you're very dead.
If it's zero skin, yes, okay. But you may be missing a little bit.
Yeah, well, I've had a cut.
Exactly.
Occasionally I've used the old, the mandolin in the kitchen and maybe you shear off a nice thin layer of palm skin.
Yeah.
Didn't die. You thinking about it?
No, I'm thinking about people being flayed.
Thinking about, flensed, all bones removed.
Yeah, I'm also thinking about, I remember, it's not human, but I remember seeing this picture of how they used to carry water in small communities in India with these pig skins. It was a whole pig, and it was just like you'd flens the whole, like taken out,
empty the pig,
and you fill up the bladder, and it's a whole pig that is carrying water.
It's pragmatic.
It is
not for the pig.
Yeah, no, but the pig is an ex-pig.
That's true. So he covered himself in varnish.
Why is that the go-to
for science?
Why is that? But how does that show anything about needing skin or not?
Have you seen Goldfinger?
No, I haven't.
You haven't seen Goldfinger? Okay,
I've seen Goldfinger. Yeah.
So remember you remember that woman that James Bond had sex with?
Not really.
So he had the intercourse with a lady and then wandered off and came back, and she had been completely sprayed in gold paint and apparently. Bullshit. Skin suffocation. You need to. Yeah. So she was killed by this. So that.
Oh no! I definitely had this in my mind as an idea that's happened.
Yeah. So he was very ahead of his time. This is like 1853. Not a lot of James Bond or movies. So he was found unconscious on the floor and resuscitated by a student.
Hang on, how much of his skin did he cover in varnish?
I think all of it. Yeah.
Oh, who is thinking? I'm going to cover myself in varnish and this will be good.
Yeah, not it'll be good. I just wonder. He's by nature a curious man.
God, that is a wonder.
Yeah.
I just think varnish is a very sticky.
Yeah, what are you going to do? I'm shellacking myself for science.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But should you? So he's found unconscious and resuscitated. The student quickly doused him with alcohol to dissolve the toxic substance coating his body.
I would have gone with terps.
I don't know if they had that then, but he did have alcohol.
No, they did, I'm sure that.
He had alcohol.
No, everyone had terps all the way back. All the way back. Terps.
Everyone had alcohol in the 1800s.
Yeah, okay.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
And apparently, one source said he'd collapsed and was found, he had his finger pointing to the coffee pot.
Fuck. If you are, listener, this is my dream. Dying in a scenario where you can point to a clue is fucking great.
Coffee pot.
Whatever it is. And
it was the Brazilians.
The last big thought you have is, do I leave a cryptic clue or an obvious clue or a fake clue?
Definitely cryptic.
Yeah.
Because you want people to be interested in your death, not to solve. Oh, it was the coffee pot. What the fuck ever? Who cares? Keep them involved for years.
So on one hand, you're making like the Bloods and the Cribs sign, and the other one you're pointing straight to a picture that's ambiguous. You're pointing to
a picture of a picture.
Nice, nice.
Or is it
that's representing time travel?
Ooh, or not? So that didn't go well.
Fuck, I hope I die like that. Like when I'm 509, obviously, but I hope I get to die.
508 is going to be a tense year for you.
Whatever, I don't care. No, you tell me right now if I'm dying at 509, I'll cope.
I would cope with that too.
But I'm going to, all of my 508th year, I'm planning the thing that I'm pointing at.
I'm going to make this look so cool.
I'll be covered in varnish and pointing at something.
I love, and I couldn't verify it, but at least one source said it on the intertube, so it must be true. He also had strong opinions about the management of epilepsy at the time. He was entirely opposed to the extirpation, which is, of course, the act of removing or destroying something completely.
In a localized area.
In a localized area, and this area was the testicles.
Oh, yeah, okay.
He was entirely opposed to the extirpation of the testicles as a cure for epilepsy, deeming it not only irrational but barbaric. And look, I'm on the same team.
Me too.
I think that's terrible and probably true that it's both irrational and barbaric.
But obviously we're pointing to the fact that someone thought that was...
I think someone's. So he had a bunch of... But he said, look, instead, what you should do is apply a red, white, hot iron to the head or limbs.
Not to the testicles.
Like red, white, hot iron.
Red, white, hot.
Red/white, hot iron. Fucking hot iron.
To the where?
To the head or limbs of the patient when they are in the coma of apoplexy.
Oh, no, you give them an intense pain and maybe that'll shock them out of it.
Yeah, burn the shit out of them on their head.
He hasn't gone to the testicles, though?
No, he's not a monster. He was also one of the first people to propose the existences of substances that we now call hormones. You getting comfy now?
No, I'm happy. I mean,
We get to hormones. Yeah. And he also demonstrated in 1856 that the removal of the adrenal glands would result in death because of a lack of essential hormones. He did this in guinea pigs, not people.
Okay, that you left that ambiguous.
Yeah, yeah. So this is great, but let's talk about the elixir. So here's from an ad for Sequarine, or the what are you lost?
No.
You've lost something.
Go to. No, I'm
still
wondering if you're going to actually touch on the story that I think is in this.
It's possible.
No, you might not.
I wouldn't leave you hanging. I would never do that to you.
No, yeah.
So here we have his the Brown-Séquard elixir, and some people marketed it as Sequarine, the medicine of the future. And you'll like this, of the many things. This is from an old ad. The one great remedy of the future will undoubtedly be this serum. The mere fact that scientists are now able to transfer energy from one animal body to another is sufficient to arouse enthusiasm among doctors with a capital D.
Just to break their spirit for a second, we've been eating other animals since long before we were humans. That is a way of transferring energy from one animal to another.
No, not the right energy.
No, but it is.
This is the right energy.
No, but it is.
This is going to get delicious. The perfection of the Sequarine serum, which embodies the very essence of animal energy.
He is living the dream, though, in terms of, I have invented my serum. Like, a serum is a great thing to invent.
Serum is excellent.
It's better than elixir.
I agree with apparently we'll get to that. Other people called it elixir to poo-poo him.
Oh, I didn't know that was a...
Poo-poo. Elixir. Oh, you charlatan. In a form for everyday use, this places animal therapy far in advance of other branches of medical science. This serum is being used with astonishing success in treating, you're going to like some of these, nervousness, neurasthenia, anemia, rheumatism, gout, sciatica, kidney disease, diabetes, dropsy.
Dropsy, yeah, of course.
Because we need to fix dropsy, dyspepsia, liver complaints, indigestion, paralysis, locomotor ataxia, general weakness.
But that's a good one. That's a good one to treat.
What does it fix? Oh, I know what's wrong. I feel a bit weak. Yeah, I'll do that. Influenza and pulmonary troubles. But the way it's written, it looks like pulmonary and then troubles.
Oh, okay.
And I love the idea that it would fix your troubles.
Well, nervousness is just a trouble.
It's true, and so is pulmonary. So anyway, apparently, in spite of all his quirks, many used to think he was an eccentric genius. I know, it's a pretty ad, isn't it?
I was just looking at the picture of Brown-Séquard.
He's an august-looking chap with a large beard and a bow tie, obviously, because he's a gentleman. So many people thought of him as an eccentric genius, and his ideas were well-known and they were revered. So, and apparently students would swarm to his classrooms to listen to even his most, and this is the quote, indecipherable and bland lectures, much like us. Students come to see our most indecipherable and bland lectures too.
Even his most, like...
Yeah. But it's him. Oh my God, Brad Pitt's talking.
I do like the combination of bland and indecipherable. Because at least if it's indecipherable, I'm like, okay, that's weird.
That's not bland. Then that's kind of interesting. Like, this is so bizarre that I'm intrigued. And his colleagues would wait for new insights in his writings and his teaching. So, in 1889, back to around the time of the Pud, he enthusiastically announced that he discovered his next big breakthrough thanks to infamous self-experimentation. People went, oh, we want to hear about it. So we need to note here that he was an incredibly active man and he was a prolific author of sciencey things. He lived in 5 countries on 3 continents. He crossed, as I mentioned, the Atlantic 60 times. He spent, when they added up, almost 6 years on the ocean traveling.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, God, that sounds nice.
Not because he's a sailor, because he was just traveling. It can be great.
Oh, no, it'd be awesome. It'd be so nice.
As a man who obviously has salt.
He's answering no emails. No emails
none.
On that boat. Like, he is just, I am email free for at least a month while I cross the Atlantic.
Probably longer.
Maybe even. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he had a lot of emails when he got
60 times across the Atlantic.
So fucking cool.
So yeah, more than 6 years of his life he spent in transit on the waters.
When I was 18, I'd worked out I'd spent a year in the pool.
Traveling?
No, not very far from one end to the other.
At 18, you'd spent a year.
Yeah.
Literally, how many hours in a year? 9,412,000?
That number.
Give or take?
Yeah.
fucking hell.
Yeah. It adds up.
How did you manage to get married?
Obviously, it was an underwater wedding.
I know. Hello, mermaid. So he was a very active man. He also wrote over 500 papers.
Wow.
And he worked 18 hours a day for pretty much 50 years.
He lied.
Or he didn't.
He's high on elixir, obviously, serum, to be able to do that.
So now he's 72 in 1889 when he enthusiastically announced his next big thing. Mm-hmm. He'd been slowly losing his strength and his endurance, so he couldn't do his 18-hour days anymore. So he was at the Société de Biologie in Paris in 1889. He presented a paper describing injections that reversed the tide of time.
What's going to be in it? What's going to be in it?
No idea.
What are you going to tell me is in this thing?
Strychnine.
No.
He said, I can, to the astonishment of my assistant, remain standing now for hours. I can, without difficulty and even without thinking about it, go up and down stairs almost running. These were the least miraculous effects.
Oh, yeah, look, I can get it. Like
I've got a spring in my step.
But also, how old was he? 80?
72. In the 1880s.
Running up, so basically 130 now.
At least, yeah.
And so running upstairs at that point sounds pretty cool.
Mm. So he also reported other miraculous effects. So the first injection produced, quote, a radical change, including increased physical stamina. It helped his facility of intellectual labour. He could lift weights 15 pounds heavier than he could before.
Okay.
It also produced a markedly longer jet of urine.
Why not lead with that though? Why not lead with that before the stairs? It's like I can piss.
Holy shit, I can piss a long way.
Really hard, really far, really big. This is the drug. Like,
do you know what better? There's a number. 25% better. It's like, how did you know before? No, why did you know before? Like, come here, Keith, you're the new assistant. I need you to measure my piss stream.
Oh my God.
Mate, I watched you drink vomit. That was bad enough, and now I've got to measure your wee-wee.
But I like it's a volume and strength.
Oh, it's jet of urine.
It's the.
Can you piss? Can I piss?
Watch this.
Step
Watch
back.
this. Hang on. Inject something.
Whittle. But the greatest effect by far was on his expulsion of fecal matter.
Indeed.
So he could shit like a king. I got the impression, this is what I'm not clear about. I tried to find out. I get the impression that the expulsion itself may have been
turgidity, rapidity.
I'm thinking
frequency,
speed, velocity. It's my suspicion.
I mean, I'd like to shit fast. That'd be funny. Like if you could actually
far.
I mean, that'd be a hilarious party trick.
Sweetheart, I cracked the bowl again.
Watch this. Okay, everyone come out to the backyard. I got something to show. I can get this over the fence.
Oh, Christ. My husband can poo over the fence.
I do like that he's obviously taken the injection and then he has detected, I have detected these changes in myself, but he had the baseline. He had the baseline of all of these things. That is so good. Yep. I'm going to know all of these things about myself, how fast I shit, how
strong my jet of urine is. You know, I've never called mine a jet of urine that I remember, but I'm going to from now on. Imagine going to the doctor. I'm worried about my jet of urine. So what was in his magical injections?
I would pause you there. I'm worried about some other things.
No, my doctor, she's lovely. So the magical injections were an elixir of blood and the juice extracted from a testicle crushed immediately after it had been taken from a dog or a guinea pig.
Or a puppy.
I said dog. Puppies don't have balls yet because they're puppies. And as he put it, he'd self-injected because he was eager to reverse the, quote, most troublesome miseries of advanced life. So people have speculated. The low levels of testosterone in his injections may have had some effect. There was, however, some skepticism among fellow scientists about the veracity of his claims. And they do say, had it not been for his reputation, the scientific community would have quickly pounced on his faulty scientific methods. For example, a sample of one, a lack of control, and the absence of laboratory confirmation or validation, which of course did not stop people selling the shit. So the elixir of Brown-Séquard became marketed as a panacea for absolutely everything.
Why wouldn't it? Why
Yeah,
wouldn't
it? It's got blood and animal balls.
Ground up?
Oh, definitely ground up.
Are we putting them in a blender?
Crushed is the word used, crushed. So if we go back to Pud, our mate, the baseballer, so modern documentary folks, when they talk about this guy, they note that it's amazing that no one gave a shit about performance-enhancing drugs back then. They were like, whatever. It's just a thing. It's just an elixir, a tonic, whatever.
When did we start caring?
Mid-last century, it seems, on average, depending on the sport. The Washington Post article I mentioned way back when, they pretty much, as was put by one documentary, they all but pushed this drug on people and said, again, if there are still doubting Thomases who concede no value, they are respectfully referred to Galvin's record against Boston. Look how good this shit is.
Look at the record.
Yeah, look how good it is.
That's the only thing you could doubt here.
The question is, does it work? Yes, it does. Then do it.
Oh, my God.
Don't be an idiot.
What a disdain for any other effect. It's like we won the game.
Yeah.
Like,
it
shut up.
It frickin' worked. But similar times, though. So what became the New England Journal of Medicine, the editors at the time cautioned, but for the reputation of Brown-Séquard, very few would have noticed the, quote, air quote, discovery, and that the sooner the general public and especially septuagenarian readers of the latest sensation understand that for the physically used up and worn out, there is no secret of rejuvenation, no elixir of youth, the better it will be. So so scientists, including many folk from around Europe, basically derisively coined the Brown-Séquard elixir. And one Vienna medical publication said, the lecture must be seen, the lecture when he first introduced it to people in Paris, the lecture must be seen as further proof of the necessity of retiring professors who have attained their 70 years.
Oh,
Get out of the way,
probably a
granddad.
good idea.
Well, that's because you're not there yet.
No, indeed.
So apparently thousands of men tried this therapy. Thousands. And an endocrinologist later on, a guy called Greenblatt,
are they doing it themselves or are they buying it off the shelf?
Not clear. I think they're buying it off the shelf,
Okay.
but the injecting part, I'm not clear.
It's not
maybe they drank it.
buy a guinea pig, see what you can do, ground it up.
Well, we've all done that.
Yeah.
We've all thought, I'm going to buy a guinea pig
But
and see what I can do.
I guess you don't have to list the ingredients in medicine.
Or in guinea pigs.
Indeed.
Every guinea pig I've bought has come without a list of ingredients. So, thousands of men tried it. And they're saying, like, at least Greenblatt, the endocrinologist, Robert B. Greenblatt, said, look, this therapy could not possibly have worked because, unlike the thyroid gland, the testes do not store the hormones they produce. They build them and they fuck them off. Therefore, obtaining a therapeutic dose of testosterone directly from animal glands would, quote, require about 1/4 of a ton of bull's testicles.
Oh.
And, I mean, bulls have big balls. But not 1/4 of a ton. So they suspect it was placebo effect.
I feel like there might be other reasons than that.
None.
It didn't
That's
work.
it. No, just that.
That's a good reason, but
well, we know. I mean, I knew dudes in my early days of uni, a couple who would take they'd take injections of testosterone.
Yeah.
So they could get bigger and lose fat or whatever. And I remember thinking, that's crazy.
Oh, yes.
Don't do that.
Yes, but you can understand how people would think it would work.
Yeah. Also, you know how I knew it worked? Because they were bald at 20.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Look, there might have been other reasons, but
freaking stacked. But so basically, the positive responses, it's been suspected that the positive responses by so many people who are into this was probably a placebo effect. But this was enough to set the field of endocrinology off and running. But others have said it derailed endocrinology for decades because hormones became associated with crackery and tomfoolery.
Yeah, I don't know, but I get the argument that it kicks off a discussion, and people are going, okay, what actually is happening here? I think that sure, they had a dumb idea, but a lot of sciences start with a dumb idea and
especially the stuff we do.
Mm.
It's true. And so anyway, he eventually, Brown-Séquard became professor of experimental medicine at the Collège de France, and he died in 1894. And he's buried at Montparnasse Cemetery, so with Jim Morrison, Oscar Wilde, and other such folk.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. But just before we close, I want to catapult us back to the present, because we're talking performance-enhancing drugs, etc. And I just like that story about Brown-Séquard.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting now that we see, despite the consequences of getting caught, elite-level athletes will feel the pressure to go well beyond the extra yard and do what they can to improve themselves.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
In
yes.
many ways.
Yep.
In many ways, more or less nefarious.
Or, no, I'll let you. I think the boundary lines here are really hard.
Oh, and we're going to talk about those.
Yeah.
So if you think about the Olympics, for example, so officials go to huge efforts to police, to test and to punish drug cheats, dopers, whatever. Then, therefore, competitors who are so involved, or the people who work with them, go to huge efforts to find ways to fool that system.
Or not even to fool, but to do what they believe is legitimate up to the line. Because you set a line and they go, okay, you're allowed to use.
You said before this is not right.
Yeah, and so on the other side is okay. So I'm going to do the best that I can within the okay zone, and that's you're like legitimate. Yeah,
that should be our new thing: the best that we can within the okay zone.
Again, another T-shirt.
That's what we do.
2 episodes in a row where we got T-shirts out.
We have so much merch. Do you want to buy it?
For they were men of science, or the best that you can within the okay zone.
But so it's been argued that it's extremely costly, it's restrictive, it's time-consuming, and it could detract from the tournament itself. So there are many voices who say, to put it in the parlance of today, let's let it rip.
Well.
And this is a phrase. This is I was going to stop, but then I saw this and I thought I have to talk about it. I haven't heard of this before. Chemical libertarianism.
Yeah. Okay. I get where they're going. I haven't actually heard it myself, but
yeah, ditto. And I saw there was an op-ed in the Guardian, a sports area in 2016. So around the time of the 2016 Rio Olympics, and the dude getting done for strychnine, and they were explaining, not advocating, but talking about chemical libertarianism and saying, look, it's not unlike many hallmarks of radical populist shifts. So it's founded in disillusionment amongst many people. It has a sort of devil-may-care, revolting attitude, as in we want to revolt, not be revolting, often rooted in nationalism, international sport, etc. And so basically disdaining the foreigner and beating them is very much encouraged. And they call on things like, Republican anger with Trump and Brexit, etc., people moving in this direction. But the other thing this author says is, look, we're also bombarded with it in popular culture. So humanity's best hope in the DC universe and the Marvel universe is quite often people who have been
super serum,
mega enhanced, all the time,
and
all the time,
and shown to be, like Captain America is they become the best version of themselves.
They couldn't be better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So popular culture is working very strongly against the idea that this is a bad thing, like very strongly. So maybe one day they're saying, look, maybe we'll have we'll have these extreme game Olympians who attended Dr. Xavier's school for gifted youngsters and graduated from the breaststroke program, having been drugged like shit.
Yeah, okay.
Like modified like hell.
Yeah. So I guess the thing then to think through is the reasons that we don't.
Well, and we will talk. I mean, look, before you do that though, so there are some serious arguments that people have loaded as well. Not just look, it's in the movies. So they're saying dropping constant tests and checks would save a lot of time and money.
Yeah, of course it would. Of course it would be way cheaper. Way cheaper not to police stuff.
Exactly.
I mean,
what if nothing was illegal?
Then you don't have to have police. Like,
look how much cheaper that is. We could spend it on cool food.
Yeah, I know, but then you have murders.
You and your murder. Not at Olympics.
I'm just saying you drop all police.
Accidental suicides, but not murder.
Help to suicide by other people.
You're right. But they also, some people argue, it would make it fairer because everyone has access to the same drugs. I know there's problems with that. It also means normal people could be top athletics because others have genetic advantages, but these can be counted.
Oh, stop it!
I know.
Oh, stop it!
And also.
So what we should do? We should look. This is.
I'm not an Olympic sprinter, but if I could do whatever I wanted, I could be. It's not fair that I'm not.
Oh God!
That's my shot putter voice.
God, that is a good shot putter voice. I don't think many shot putters have that voice.
After steroids, maybe.
Who is actually raising that argument? But
more than you would imagine. And also, this is the classic. This is the one I always love. It could make the games more interesting because records are always being smashed and higher, faster, stronger. But of course, there's a counter, and I'm sure you.
I think if there were aliens, out there, like the aliens slowly coming over the like a 100-year cycle, and it was like, okay, we need to ramp up the human race to get to that. Then people are like, on for young and old.
Let's do it.
Let's maximize our Olympic performance so that we can make total awesome super soldiers. Like I think once while we're competing against each other, we're like, optimize within this zone.
Yep.
But suddenly, Band-Aids off. Let's go for it. That's what we need.
In principle, I love the idea. I can't help it. I do
because
I'm not thinking about it.
There's your science fiction series. Aliens are coming, but we've got 100 years, so we have these awesome
Take everything. Take everything.
It's like Squid Game on all of the steroids.
Yep. Squid Game with guinea pigs, drinking vomit, whatever it takes. But I like the counters to that, of course, and I'm sure you've got many. But one of the ones I didn't think about, which I quite like, is performance-enhancing drugs are not performance-creating drugs. So if you don't have any kind of disposition,
this is the thing.
That's a big one.
This is the thing. Go back to the Tour de France.
Yep.
I'm not a huge follower of cycling, but I think it's awesome, and I think the achievements of some of the amazing cyclists are absolutely amazing.
It's insane.
And I think I will always till the day that I die think of Floyd Landis, one-time Tour de France winner, taken off him because he was a drug cheat.
Yep.
But the fact that he was woken up in the middle of the night to eat a roast chicken,
Floyd time to eat again.
It always just makes me happy.
Oh, that's
but
awesome.
no, I'm actually
was
talking
it bones and all?
No, but probably. Yeah, I'm sure. You must put it all in your face.
Swallow it.
No. It's Lance Armstrong. And we know now he was a drug cheat. But I still think beating all of the other drug cheats to win the Tour de France 7 times is absolutely heroic achievement. It is absolutely heroic.
Yeah.
And it did not turn pudding guy into no. I think the level of drive that you need, regardless of any assistance that you have, there is no drug that will turn someone from just Joe No One into winning the Tour de France 7 times.
7 times.
It is one of the hardest races in the world to win once.
Yep.
To win once and to win 7 on the trot.
Doped or not.
I just think still hats off to the guy. Like I know
this is exactly part of the counter argument that says, look, just because you can take the stuff doesn't mean you've got the baseline to make it work.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like the argument actually runs that you would actually narrow the field even more because people not only have to have the physical talent, but if you take certain drugs and certain...
so your diversity argument is saying...
It gets worse. It gets narrower because also many of these drugs or these stimulants, whatever, fuck up a lot of people. So you could be a prime level athlete already, but you might fall into that band of those people who, if you take Brown-Séquard's elixir or whatever, it makes you messed up anyway. Like you could have an allergic reaction, it could not work for you. So you're in fact narrowing the pool of people for whom it's possible to do these things exceptionally well.
Okay.
Which I think is an interesting one. Again, it's not something I thought about.
Maybe. I don't know if I'll buy that one.
Oh, I buy it. Also, of course, in terms of fairness, obviously the countries with access will have it and the countries who don't won't, and on it goes. Also, the main argument, and I'll end on this, no matter what you do, in the end, you're going to hit ceilings. And so it was argued that...
No, I don't believe you.
Yeah, your body will break eventually.
No.
As far as we're aware, bodies break.
No, eventually.
Are you going implants?
Speed of light. There is, Einstein said there's a ceiling. That's the only ceiling I respect.
If you eat enough bull's balls, you can break the speed of light.
No, you can't. Einstein says... Einstein tested that himself. He said, let's see if I can beat it.
He's not dead. He's just still traveling. But yeah, I think it's interesting. So the arguments they make is, look, we'd see what we saw with extreme improvements in nutritional supplements, etc. There'd be a big burst of improvements, world records shattering, new spikes on running shoes, and then we hit a plateau again no matter what.
Yeah. The thing I love as well is, I think there's a bunch of questions we still need to talk through here.
So many, yeah.
But it's the every so often there is a technological enhancement to a sport. So a new pair of shoes or a new pair of swimming togs.
Yep, the togs, big one, yep.
Togs, technical term. I'm glad that you coped with that because that's the Queensland word.
No, it's not.
Not cozies or bathers. Anyway.
As a child, it was bathers, but then I grew out of it.
Togs. Yes. You wear your togs. But anyway, every so often there's a technical improvement and the authorities go, oh, no, that's too much of an improvement. There's too much.
Yeah, and then let's wait 5 years. Okay, it's fine.
I love there's a pair of Nike marathon shoes. And it's just shocking because over the last year, it's like the 5 best times in marathons, 4 of them are wearing these shoes that have come out in the last year.
And is the 5th one barefoot because fuck it?
Or I don't know. I don't have the exact numbers there, but it's enough where people go, we shouldn't break records that fast.
It's shoes.
But here's the thing where you step back from that and you go, what is the shouldn't? What is the shouldn't? There is some natural progression of humanity ordained by the outside world that this is the pathway you got to follow.
And look, do the shoes actually have some kind of self-propulsion?
That is the question. No, there is actually a question. Are they more springy than has been defined by...
But that's not self-propulsion. That still means whoever's wearing those shoes has the same advantage according to the shoes, and then it comes down to what they can do with them.
And deep down, these are, they're expensive on the end of running shoes, but they are not $100 million. They're like...
More like $5 million.
No, they're like $300. So they...
My undies cost $300.
No, they're expensive, but if you are in the realm of winning the marathon world records,
that's not an expensive.
It's not expensive. No. If you are at that point of going, I can do this, you will find that money. That is, anyone that says that is out of the realm of.
No, if it's clothing, I think calm the fuck down. If the clothing has an engine on it, then it's a different competition. Like if the shoes have little rockets, I'm like, okay, that's not running anymore. That's running with rockets.
But here's the thing. I mean, there is no competition without rules. And it's just we're realizing...
As Monica and friends said, rules help control the fun, but they also help parameterize. It doesn't make sense. You can't win something if there's no rules.
Yeah, exactly, because you need the rules to actually say what it is that you've won. So I'm not wedded. I think the interesting thing on the performance enhancing drugs is, why do we have them? Is it just that there is some sort of rule to say, okay, there is the boundary and we stop there? Or is it that we have some long-term care for athletes' bodies? Because if that's the truth...
As if it's number two.
If that's the truth...
It's number two.
If that's the truth, then there are a whole bunch of other things that we would do as well. Because I think that...
For example, hey, 6-year-old doing gymnastics.
Oh my God. Like, there are so many reasons. Well, in fairness, young girl gymnastics should probably be banned. Like it just, and I think the Olympics have moved in that direction.
Why do you hate children?
I do. No, but
what if they like it?
No, but we know that there are a bunch of sports that 12-year-olds are going to be the best in the world at. Like their body at the peak before puberty, they are a peak of flexibility and movement, and so. But that will do damage to their growing body. And so this is the thing, again, and you and I talk about this a whole bunch. It's that, why are we doing this? And if we make it explicit why we're doing it, then maybe that's a pathway. Anyway.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, look, I think there's so many questions here. So the performance enhancement thing, the term enhancement is completely loaded in the first place. Like what is good enhancement? You could argue training is enhancement. Like, how dare you? You train for this event.
Oh, we should do this natural. Like everyone should start from the couch.
We're all going to just get up from
100 meters from the couch.
Yep.
Go.
No, marathon. So I'm thinking marathon. Or extreme weightlifting. Come here and lift up the heaviest thing you can once, and then we'll see you in hospital for maybe ever.
Or maybe we could give up the idea of
competition,
of competition,
and just love each other. Then
we solve all of these problems. You know how many problems you solve if you give up the idea of competition?
11.
Yes,
just the big ones. So you already knew it all. You knew all about Brown-Séquard and balls. It wasn't only about balls for a change. Can't believe it was my episode.
The Wholesome Show is me.
Yeah.
Will Grant.
And also me, Will Grant. And it's really good. If you've listened this far, send Will money.
Or something. It's actually a live show next week, but...
there is. Tuesday next week, depending on when you listen to this.
Yeah. We'll be back at some point soon, listener, with more wholesome content for you.